Hello, YouTube. What's going on, YouTube? My name is ADCArtAttack. His name is Bob. His name is Larry, and her name is Sally. And welcome back to a brand new coloring book video. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is a brand new episode in my professional artist versus a children's coloring book. Now, this is the series where I, ADCArtAttack, the artist, attempt to color in a children's coloring book because it is fun to do, and that is what art is all about. Not only is it fun, it's a great opportunity for us to draw together, to learn together, and to be creative and explore new things together. Now in this series we have done many videos. In fact, we've done so many videos it's quite difficult to think of what we're going to do next. So I figured today we would do the greatest anime of all time. That being said, please leave a comment down below on what your favorite anime of all time is. If you like anime. If you don't like anime, just leave a comment on your favorite cat. Yeah. So what are we doing today? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are doing Dragon Ball once again with the release of the new Dragon Ball game Kakarot, which is a fantastic game, and if you haven't played it yet, I highly suggest you do it. Maybe we'll do a Kakarot image, I don't know, we're gonna flick through our book and see what we can find. Speaking of the book, what are we doing today? Before we go any further, I gotta plug a sponsor today, and that sponsor today is me. Okay, it's not really a sponsor, but guys, I do have a second channel. That is right, second channel. Why do I have a second channel, you're asking? Well, I have a video up on the new channel which will tell you everything you need to know about why I have one. And if you like the content I produce over here, you love the content over there. So there'll be a link down below in the description. Click on it and you'll be taken to the video where you can like and subscribe. Anywho, back to the coloring book. And what coloring book are we using today? This thing. Do you remember it? I do. This book featured in the previous video, and some of the things that are contained in this book are really scary. And if you do want to see what's inside this book, you're gonna have to watch that video. I will be flicking through it a little bit during this video, but I won't be flicking through the whole thing because I just don't want to do that to you again. Okay, so why is a professional artist coloring in a children's coloring book? I've always been a fan of saying that it doesn't matter what age you are or what skill level you're at, you're never too old or good to color in a children's coloring book. These are just outlined images of existing characters and they are there for you to express your creative skills. Another fantastic thing about these is if you can't draw, don't worry about it. You can still be an artist, you can still be creative. You can pick up a coloring book and you can just color away to your heart's content. It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be great, it doesn't have to be accurate. You can color it how you want to color it, and as long as you're having fun, that's what's important. Don't let anyone tell you any different. All right, so let's flick through this coloring book right now, find a couple of images. Hopefully there's something in there that we do like and can work with, and we'll get on with coloring some Dragon Ball stuff. So yeah, I am gonna just kind of slide out of the way now, and I will catch you in a second. You can just enjoy me flicking through the video. By the way, if you do like this video, leave a thumbs up on the video. That'd be super. Bye. Okay guys, so here we have the lovely Dragon Ball Z coloring book. And on the front cover, it has a really nice image of Goku. Now I'm gonna quickly go over this book a little bit. I'm not gonna go crazy in depth because we did do that in the previous video. And as I said before, there will be a link in the description down below for you to check that one out. And I would recommend doing it because it was a pretty cool video. And yeah, we looked at some really wacky images contained within this book and the other book. Now, once again, when you open this, you are greeted with the lovely Dragon Ball Z sort of thing going on here. Copyright Kelly Brixton. Now, I don't know who you are, Kelly Brixton, but are you allowed to do that? I don't know. There's a lot of stolen images in here, a lot of stolen fan artwork. I'm a little bit curious about that, but never mind. Let's go. Now on the first page, we are greeted with this lovely image here that we actually used in the previous video. It was also contained in the other book, and we created a lovely piece of artwork. Now this piece of artwork was just me using the standard Dragon Ball coloring style. Nothing fancy, just wanted to do that for the sake of doing it. And then we moved on to something a little bit more advanced, as we will be doing in this video today. Yeah, so now you can see what I was talking about. This is obviously fan artwork and it's really badly done. Not the artwork itself, because I have seen the original, but this is obviously stolen and has been very poorly traced. As you can see, they couldn't be bothered to go up to the lines. It's just very all-round bad, so yeah, Oh my god, I forgot this one existed. Okay, so this is obviously Michael Jackson Saiyan. Wow. Creative, I'll give you that one. Alrighty then, so we've actually found two images right here. This one of Kid Goku and this one of Kid Goku. Now this is Kid Goku in Dragon Ball and this is Kid Goku in Dragon Ball GT. They look really, really nice and I can't actually decide which one I want to do. I'm going to do both. And what I'll do is I will color this the same way that you would find it in a typical Dragon Ball kind of style. And then we'll move on to this one where I'm going to implement a little bit more of my style, a little bit more blending. I will do my best not to stray too far from the Dragon Ball style, but we'll be a little bit more creative with this one. That being said, I won't flick through the rest of this because we did that in the previous video. If you do want to see that, remember, there's a link in the description. You should definitely check that one out. And I will figure out a way to make this flat because it's doing that thing. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to make that flat. Maybe tear out the page. No, I won't do that. I'll leave the book intact and I will, yeah, get on with coloring it. So I will talk you through everything I'm going to be doing and hopefully you'll enjoy this video. Let's, go. Yeah. Alrighty guys, so we are finally at the part of the video where I am going to begin coloring. I know it's been a long time, but I am finally here. And I figured that for this first image, we do this in a more tutorial type setting. So I'm going to break down exactly what I'm doing before we go on to the second part where we're going to take what we learned from today into that and hopefully do something a little bit different. Now the skin tones I'll be using today are a mix of vanilla, soft peach, and coral. And you don't have to use these skin tones if you don't want to. These are just the ones that I've chosen to use today. It's always nice to keep a sort of general idea of a few skin palettes that you can use, just in case anything goes wrong. Say you run out of a color unexpectedly, you don't panic, and you're sort of able to just grab the next color and work with it immediately. Now, as you're seeing right here with the base color, I'm really not happy with how washed out it looks. So I'm applying a second layer to this vanilla just to bring a bit more of that pigment through. And I'm actually using the white highlight method today, which is just not coloring in certain areas. Now, I know this is a bit of a controversial topic. Not many people like to do the white areas. I personally like to do them. I think they look pretty nice. But again, it's entirely up to you if you want to do them. If you don't want to do them, just color in those areas. And if you do want to do them, leave it blank. And that same rule applies for double layering. If you like the way it looks washed out, then you keep that the way it is. If you don't like it, double layer it. Same thing happens here when I'm doing the soft peach second layer. I feel that enough of the pigment is not showing through that it needs a double layer. And in terms of where to place these shadows, now this is again something you will learn through referencing, through looking at the source material. Every character follows a sort of general idea and it is very quick and easy to learn this. But again, if you're not confident, grab yourself a reference and just go from there. You will learn it and you will start to pick up the habits as you go. And so now adding a third layer, this wasn't always there. Not every piece of Dragon Ball throughout history had a third layer. And by that I just mean a third shadow layer. This is something that came later on with the art style and I really do like it. I think it's a nice addition and I think it makes sense. I think it is fantastic for bringing a little bit more dimension to your characters. So if you want to make them look a little bit more 3D to separate those areas, grab yourself a third layer. I'm using a coral today and just look for those areas that are very deep. So the areas such as underneath the neck, areas that are very close to the hair, inside the ear, just these areas that are super deep and you just want to bring those areas forward. It is a great technique and it does suit this particular style. That being said, if you don't want to do this style, if you want to keep the image flat and two-dimensional, you don't have to implement it. It is perfectly fine not to. Now, as we move on to doing the blues, this is where I want to keep the image washed out. The clothing, for me, is quite important to be washed out. So I'll be using washed out colors, starting with a China blue. Now, this China blue is a sort of weird color. It has a bit of like a grayish kind of tint to it. I'm not sure, but it's a little bit off. And it works great here. As you can see, a lot of the white paper is showing through. So we really do not want to double layer this. So please don't double layer this layer and reserve that double layer for your shading, which is what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be using the China blue itself as the second layer. I think it adds a very nice natural and neutral shadow to it and it just works super well. And for the third layer, I'll actually be using a gray. Again, this is another thing that will help keep the image washed out while also applying a nice natural shadow. As soon as you pick up a very pigment heavy color such as black or a dark blue, it will take the image a little bit away from being that sort of authentic traditional style and more into that animated cartoon style. Now please guys, if you are wondering what colors I am using today, if you missed any of the colors that I'm using, there will be a list in the description down below. Feel free to check them out because I can't go over everything that I'm doing in this video and it'll make your life a little bit easy if you just check out the description. There's usually much important information down there and I will do my best to order them in the layers that I applied them in, from lightest to darkest. That being said, when we came onto these legs, applying the second layer was quite fun. So I had actually intended for the Sandstone color I'm using here as the deepest color possible, but I wasn't very happy with the way that Apricot had turned out for a shadow. It looked too cartoony, and it just wasn't working for me. But then I realized the Sandstone on top of it really did work, and it actually provided the color I was looking for initially. So really happy mistake here, and this is why I like just not planning stuff. I really love it. It allows me to discover new things, and this worked out really well. It's a good day. And as I do move on to the actual dark color itself, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to use a cinnamon or a gray. So I grabbed the gray 5 and it didn't work too well. In my opinion, it was just way too dark. It threw off the image a little bit. So I quickly grabbed the gray 4 and that was perfect. And the beauty of that is I actually had a brush tip. So yeah, because I had a brush tip variant of the gray, I was able to get into those very fine details and to make the image a little bit more refined, which just worked out super well. And I was so happy with the results of it. And yeah, so let's quickly finish up those minor areas and I will get back to you in a second. Alrighty, so this image of Goku is done, and I hope you did learn something from it, and I hope you did enjoy this one. It's a very basic image. I didn't want to do anything too crazy with it, but I really like it. I think this looks pretty cool. I won't talk too much about this one because I'm going to move on to the second piece, but I just want to say, you're probably noticing that I didn't do anything to the hair or the shoes. Now, I felt that it worked within the image. I was planning on adding some shadows and details to them, but I think the way that they looked, I didn't want to do it. I think it just looks really good and they work really well. So I've opted to leave it as it is, and I hope that this is a good idea. I hope you do like it. But that being said, let's move on to the second piece, and this one we're going to branch out a little bit more. Okay, so as we work on the second piece of Goku, I'm actually using the exact same methods that I was using with the first one. I figured they worked really well, so let's carry them over. And let me just say a couple things about this paper before we actually go too far here. It works super well. This is some of the best paper I have ever used in a coloring book. Now, obviously, I don't want to promote this coloring book too heavy because there's a lot of images in here that are quite questionable, and I do question the legitimacy of this coloring book itself. But the paper cannot be faulted. The paper is absolutely incredible, and it works super well with these pens. I'm getting no bleeding, and so far so good. I feel pretty confident and pretty good with this paper. Now, there is one major difference to this image as opposed to the previous one we just did, and that is that I'm going to be using pencils here. I'm going to be adding the pencil effect into this because it suits my style. I really do enjoy using pencils. I love to use pencils. I feel more of an artist when I'm using them, if I'm honest. So that's what I'm doing. Now, luckily, I actually have a peach colored pencil, and this is going to work out fantastically because if I do make a mistake using the darker colors, I'm able to correct any of those mistakes with this peach pencil. So I pretty much have a scapegoat, and this is something that you should pre-plan in your mind. Always have a sort of backup in case something goes wrong. That being said, the pencils are kind of useless, if I'm honest. They didn't quite have the effect I was going for, and they just weren't layering on top of the markers as well as I would have liked to. I don't know why. I'm actually pretty surprised because in previous ones, it's not been too much of a problem. And with the paper being as good as it has been, I really don't know why it's just not working. I am using Prismacolor pencils today, so they shouldn't really be causing any problems, but we're having a problem. So pretty sucky, not really able to get the effect I want. So I'm going to tone back the amount of pencil that I'm using here because it's really not worth going overboard here. Now, as this image that we're working with today is not Dragon Ball Z, and it's a very young kid Goku, we need to be aware of the shadows and how we're implementing them. As opposed to the Z style, where you have these very sort of harsh edges. And by Z style, I mean the typical Dragon Ball style that we're used to that carries over into GT as well. That style doesn't really work or apply too well for the old Dragon Ball style, which this kid Goku is from. So you want to make the shadows rounded. Each of these shadow lines needs to have curved lines to them. Try to avoid using straight edges as much as you possibly can. It really does add to the effect of that sort of young, youthful image. The harsh straight edges are more suited to a mature character, an older character, and just a different style. Alright, so right now we have a great image. This looks pretty good, but there is something that needs to be done here. We need to elevate this image further. We need to take this coloring book and take it to another level. This is what's great about coloring books. We haven't had to draw anything, so because we haven't had to draw anything, we've been able to focus all of our energy into the coloring part. However, this has left us in a position where we actually have more time on our hands, so why don't we just focus all of that drawing energy that we would have put into the character into a background? So I think the best way to do this is going to be, he's flying right now, so we need to have a ground below him. So let's have a very heavy arced earth around him, a sort of very heavy arced horizon line. And we are going to place the very traditional, very old-fashioned looking Dragon Ball manga kind of scenery, with the rocky landscapes, the bushes, the trees, do something like that, but I don't want to go crazy with it because I want Goku, the colored Goku at the front, to be the foreground. If I start to distract with a very over-the-top background, it will detract from what we've got going on at the front. So let's not go crazy with this. Let's keep everything quite flat. And yeah, let's just sketch out some rough rocks. Now, I would suggest when you do something like this, grab yourself some source materials. What I've done is I have sourced multiple sources, and I mean there are so many sources right now that I'm looking at. Things from the Vegeta and Goku fight, things from Goku flying on the Nimbus, Gohan and his dragon, what was its name? Icarus. There is a lot to take in, and just try to combine as much as you can and get a general kind of Dragon Ball-ish feel. Very traditional looking piece. Now, there really isn't much I can say about the Nimbus as I'm working on this. That's the little fluffy cloud that he's standing on. I unfortunately ran out of 2 pens while I was doing this, and this is becoming a common theme throughout this video. I ran out of so many colors, it really was blowing my mind actually. So I didn't get to do the style that I was hoping to do, which was going to be a little bit more blending as opposed to the style that I have chosen today. But it still looked pretty good by the end, I think. What do you think? Do you like it? I think it looks alright. It's not terrible. But hey, let's move on to doing something else. And with the background being done, it is time to apply some coloring. Now, you'll notice that I actually only applied any major details to what was closest to us. That was intentional. It wasn't laziness or anything like that. It adds to the effect of what I'm going for here. I want it to be very flat, but at the same time, we can't ignore the details that are close to us. We can't block those out. They are there and we have to accept them. But there's a sort of caveat to this. What you can do, is that even a word? Think so. But what you can do here is we apply a lot of detail using the fine liner itself. However, when we start to apply our colors, these are the only areas we're going to apply some shadows to. But very loose shadows. We're not going to apply heavy shadows. So just slapping down the base greens, and when we start putting on those sort of sandstone-y colors, just making sure that we keep the foreground shadowed, but not heavily shadowed to detract from what we've got going on with the character Goku. And so what I'm going to do here is quickly finish this one up, and I will catch you in a moment where we are going to discuss the final piece. So I will catch you in a moment. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We are done with both of our pieces, and yeah, before we actually look at them side by side, let's take a look at each of them individually and talk about them, a quick overview, and see what we think about them. Now, taking a look at our first piece, this was a tutorial piece. This was just something to warm up, and it's just something to showcase what we can do with this paper, find out what we could do with it, and just go through the motions of creating a Dragon Ball style piece of artwork. I think we've matched the colors pretty well, and this paper definitely works very well with this style. I didn't have any issues with the paper at all, nothing to speak of, and really did enjoy it.
I chose to apply my third layer of shading, and this is something that some people like and some people don't. I like the third layer of shading, many don't, but that's totally fine. I just think it looks pretty cool. There are some areas I decided that I wasn't going to touch, such as the hair and the boots. Reason being is I think that they just worked with what we have here. They look very traditional and it just matches the entire image. I think if I added any shadows to it, it wouldn't have worked. Taking a quick look at the back of the paper, it looks pretty nice on the back of the paper, and we didn't get really any bleeding onto the sheet of paper that we had below it. Overall, I like it, and I hope you do too. Having a look at the second piece now, this is when we decided we were going to break the mold here. I was going to try to do something a little bit more, because that's what I believe that we should be doing when we have these coloring books. We have a chance here, we've skipped the drawing phase, so why don't we take the work that we would have put into doing the drawing and put it somewhere else. So I don't have to draw a character here, but I could draw a background. And yeah, I like it. It's a very simplistic background, and I wanted to get like a manga type feel, a colored manga type feel. I think we succeeded in that. The character model of Goku himself, nothing too fancy here. I really was quite upset that I couldn't use the pencils to the full effect over this. That led to me having to hold back a lot with the pencils, and pretty much we just got a style very similar to the one that we got in the first piece. So there wasn't much breaking the mold there. I wasn't able to do the style that I'm very comfortable with or enjoy doing, but I can't complain about it. I actually do like this piece overall. I think also if we look at where we started with the image and where it came to, it's a pretty big difference from the line work to the colored version. It's very nice, and I'm very happy with both of these, and I hope you are too. And I hope if you have tried this alongside me at home, you have got some good results of your own.
So ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did enjoy today's video, please leave a thumbs up on the video, subscribe if you are new around here, and don't forget to leave your comments of the 3 questions of the day. Question number 1, what is your favorite anime of all time? Question number 2, if you don't like anime, what's your favorite cat? And question number 3, which of the 2 pieces that we drew today did you like the most? Until next time, from myself, Bob, and the Ducklings, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.